Some children don't remember the moment their childhood ended, because it didn't end in a single day. It disappeared slowly. When a child starts worrying about adult problems, when they become the strong one in the family, when they learn that their feelings come second, psychologists call this forced maturity. And studies in developmental psychology show that children who grow up too fast often become adults who appear strong, responsible, and independent, but inside, their nervous system is still carrying the weight of a childhood it never got to live. In this video, we'll break down the psychological patterns often found in people who had to grow up too early, and why the strength they develop sometimes comes with invisible costs. One of the first things psychologists notice in children who grow up too fast is premature responsibility. Research on parentification shows that some children are unconsciously pushed into adult roles. They may take care of siblings, manage family emotions, or feel responsible for keeping peace at home. At an age when the brain should be exploring and playing, these children are learning how to survive stress. The developing brain adapts to this pressure by prioritizing control and awareness, which is why many of these children grow up to be unusually responsible. But responsibility learned through stress often comes with one hidden belief: if I don't hold everything together, things will fall apart. Children who grow up too fast often become extremely independent adults. At first, this looks like strength. They rarely ask for help. They solve problems alone. They handle pressure quietly. But psychologists, studying trauma responses, explain something important. Sometimes independence isn't a personality trait. It's a survival adaptation. When a child learns that support is unreliable, their brain stops expecting it. Over time, asking for help begins to feel uncomfortable, even unsafe, so they rely only on themselves. Not because they want to, but because that's what worked when they were young. Another pattern psychologists observe is something called split maturity. Children who grow up too fast often become emotionally mature in certain ways, but remain emotionally deprived in others. For example, they might give incredible advice. They might understand other people's emotions deeply, but struggle to process their own. This happens because their brain learned to focus outward, reading situations, managing people, preventing conflict, instead of learning how to safely experience their own emotions. So they become wise beyond their years, but sometimes disconnected from their inner world. For many people who grew up too fast, rest feels strangely uncomfortable. When everything becomes quiet, their mind doesn't relax. It escans. This response is linked to chronic childhood stress, which psychologists say can keep the nervous system in a mild state of alertness. Even years later, their brain learned that calm moments might suddenly turn stressful. So instead of resting, they stay mentally prepared. This is why many adults who grew up too fast feel productive when busy, but uneasy when they slow down. One of the most difficult patterns is the feeling of guilt for having needs. Children who are praised mainly for being strong, mature, or helpful often internalize a quiet rule: my value comes from what I give, not from what they need. As adults, this can create an internal conflict. They support everyone around them, but when they need support themselves, they hesitate. Not because they don't deserve it, but because their childhood taught them that being the helper was safer than being the one who needed help. Interestingly, many people who grew up too fast develop very high empathy. They can read subtle emotional cues. They understand pain quickly, because as children, paying attention to others' emotions was often necessary for safety. But this empathy often becomes guarded. They care deeply, yet struggle to fully trust others with their own vulnerability, which creates a paradox. They understand people very well, but rarely feel fully understood themselves. Growing up too fast doesn't just shape childhood. It shapes the nervous system, the personality, and the way someone experiences the world. Many of the strengths people admire, resilience, independence, emotional awareness, were built during moments that required a child to become strong earlier than they should have. Understanding this isn't about blame. It's about awareness. Because when people recognize these patterns, they can finally start learning something their younger self never had the chance to learn. That strength doesn't always mean carrying everything alone. Sometimes it means allowing yourself the childhood your mind never finished having.